Yes, guys, welcome back. We're back in the arena, and today's topic of conversation is all about comparison. Now, in today's world, in today's society, I think that we have these expectations that are put on us to achieve certain things in life. And society has almost like a timeline, almost like these milestone stages in life for us that what we see constantly on social media, that is the idea of success. And if we don't have it, we are almost considered failing. And when we're constantly surrounded by it, we're checking our screens, social media all the time, it takes its toll. And when we don't hit these things, we end up starting to compare ourselves to other people. We compare our value, we compare our self-worth. Now, I'm one for this, especially in the world of podcasting, in the world of football, in life, right? And I'll try and share a few things about it, but we've got to understand that it is tough with social media. Falling into this trap, it's hard, almost impossible not to. Now, whether you're falling into comparing yourself in terms of your career, your finances, your job, could be your relationships, your body image, your skill and your ability and whatever that you're doing. It can be anything in life, right, that we fall into comparing ourselves to other people. Now, it's important to remember that people often curate their online presence to a point where it only shows the best part of who they are. And look, I'm guilty of this too. I think that social media is also so powerful in the fact that it's a personal brand these days and it's marketing yourself. So of course we want to be posting good stuff. We want to portray this image of success, of responsibility, of being a good person and all this, right? But we got to remember that that's not how life is all the time, and that there are the realities of hardship, adversity, struggles, and things that we do not post. Now, you got to come back to the fact that we're all on different journeys. We are all walking different paths of life. And the fact that we are seeing and surrounded by other people's journeys, especially when we get caught up in times of emotion and when we ourselves are facing adversity, it's so easy to look at other people's paths online and think, that looks nice, that looks fun, that looks easy, right? But you've got to really ground yourself in your values. You've got to ground yourself in your definition of success and remind yourself that what other people deem successful and what society deems successful may not be your definition, and that's absolutely all right. Stephen Bartlett, the host of Diary of a CEO, posted something the other day which I thought was super interesting. He said that we need to destigmatize and realize that society is putting this pressure on us that at the age of 18 we have to be going to university. At 21 we should be getting a job. At 25 should be buying a house. 30 getting married. 35 having kids and having a family, right? It's like these landmarks that society's putting on us that is deeming us successful, or if we don't have it, a failure. Now, it's important to understand that your journey is completely different, and it's all right if you're not hitting those things. And look, I find myself in this trap, and I had a conversation with one of my really good mates the other day where I don't want to go too much into his story because I really want him to come onto this podcast and share with you guys what he's doing, what he's going through, and his story, because it's special and it's unique. And the thing is that when we're having this conversation, we're talking about the fact that we have both voluntarily decided to put ourselves in a position where we are pursuing goals, pursuing our potential. We have voluntarily moved overseas to a different country. We are isolated, away from our family. We don't speak the language, and more often we're finding ourselves in times where we're struggling and it's hard and it's very challenging. Now, I think that this is such a good sign for both of us that we're on a path of growth, of development, of chasing something big in our lives and trying to figure out what that is. Now, we went to high school together, and it's funny because we have a lot of mutual friends, and when we are both looking on our social medias, we see the same things a lot. And we're talking about the fact that a lot of our friends are hitting these points in life, right, where they are getting married, they're having kids, they've got stable jobs, they're buying houses, all of these things that society deems as successful. And when we're struggling, when we're isolated in this country in a position where we're like, what am I doing here? It's so easy, and we find ourselves falling into this trap of being like, you know what? If I decide to stay home and live a different way, I could have had that by now. I could be comfortable at home. I could be surrounded by family and friends. I could be the one buying that house. I could be having that income that I want. But the reality is that wasn't meant for us, and our journeys and the decisions we made are for something else, and that's absolutely all right. So if you are going through something now where you find yourself thinking about what other people are achieving just because you don't have that right now, that's absolutely all right. We always look at what we don't have in the situations when we are struggling. It's so easy to be consumed by the things that we do not have and that we want right then compared to what we actually have right now, and trying to make the most of this opportunity. So coming back to the present moment, coming back to us, our values, our definition of success is so important and so crucial. And look, I really find this, especially starting this journey in this podcast, right? Like, I was having a conversation with another friend the other day, and he was telling me that I don't think I could even put myself out there and do what like you're doing. And I was like, look, I'm struggling to do it as well. Like, I've started, but I find myself already comparing what I'm doing and the quality and the value and the content compared to people who have been in the industry for years. Like the people I look up to, like Jay Shetty, Lewis Howes, Ed Milet, Stephen Bartlett, Alex Cooper. All of these guys have incredible platforms, and they're so articulate, so intelligent, and they have such diligent questions where they've got guests who have such high profiles, and they're able to extract information from them and produce such incredible content. And for myself stepping into this, I'm like, okay, I have to remind myself that all of these guys started from somewhere too. They all had to start from zero, where they'd probably never done a podcast before as well. And over time, they've refined their skills, they've gotten better, they've developed their content, their value, their quality, and that excites me. It's like looking towards the future and the process itself, instead of being caught up in the fact that, yes, they are better. It's like, where can I go? That's what's exciting, to be able to bring it back from an external state back to the internal and think about what I can do and what I can control. Look, it happens in sport, it happens in life, it happens in your jobs. And the one thing that I find really interesting, right, especially in my world of football right now and sport, something that I've been thinking about is, it's hard not to compare yourself to others. It's so hard, especially when your job, your career, your livelihood is dependent on the perception and judgment of other people. So for me, wherever I go in my career, wherever it takes me is going to be based on the opinion of a coach, an agent, a manager, a scout, someone who looks at me, looks at my skill set, judges that I'm good enough, and has an opinion to see if I am the right fit for whatever club, whatever team that may be. The reality is, it happens in life. It happens in my team right now, right? So there's 11 people who can play in a game on a team at one time in football and soccer, right? So constantly finding myself competing all the time to make sure I'm playing, because that's what you want at the end of the day. Simple as that. Train well, play. That's it. Now, what I find is that we all have areas to improve on, right? We all have places where we have weaknesses. We have these places that we need to improve. Skills could be in your job, could be different areas where it could be in real estate, it could be your communication, it could be anything. Like, we have these areas that we need to improve, right? Now, for me, especially when competing against other people, I find that it's so hard to drop my ego and ask for help. Because I'm competing against my teammates who I'm surrounded by every day, they see me train, they see me play. I think that's one thing that's so underestimated, is actually asking these people around us, because we're competing against them, to ask them, what can I do better? Like, you see me every day. You could be in sales, you could be with people in an office, and because you're competing for jobs, for salaries, for, I don't know, employee of the month, something, you don't want to show this weakness and show that you're struggling. And for me, going to a teammate and saying, oh, I'm struggling with this, it's almost like showing weakness, right? And I don't want to come across that way. But the only way to improve is to ask these questions. And sometimes they're going to be dumb questions. And it's funny, Jordan Peterson said this the other day. In a podcast that I was listening to, he was talking about asking stupid questions. And he's like, you'll never have to ask a stupid question twice if you listen. And if you don't ask stupid questions, you're going to stay stupid. Simple as that. So the only way to find answers and get better and actually grow is to ask these silly questions. And that's what I find, especially in team environments, when you're competing against people. Yes, I think you've just got to drop your ego to then understand that you've got to become better. And that's where this comparison and competitiveness comes in, right? But we've got to realize that at the end of the day, in order to grow and get better, we have to ask these silly questions. Look, the world of comparison is so tough. It really is. Just because as I said, like, society is painting this picture where it expects us to be some way, and it expects us to have these things, these definitions of success, and we're surrounded by get-rich-quick schemes on Instagram, on Facebook. We're surrounded by young people driving in incredible cars, having millions of dollars, becoming the next millionaire within 2 years, 6 months, whatever it is, right? We're surrounded by this, and we end up getting consumed by it, because when you don't have it, that's what you want. Now, if I'm going to give you advice, my advice is to say, if you're going to compare yourself to anything, look at where you started. Take a minute of reflection. Go back to who you started as on your journey. Think about that person and what they used to be like. Then take a look at what you've become, who you are now, the amount you've grown, the amount you've changed, the person you've become, the amount of potential you've grown in. Now, if that excites you, then get excited for the future. Because however far you've come now, just imagine how far you can go when you're going to align your purpose with actions that follow that, with value in your arena to grow your potential, you don't have a ceiling. There is no ceiling for you. You can achieve whatever you want. And that is so exciting. If you're going to compare yourself to anyone, look in the mirror and compare yourself to who you were, and then think about who you can become. Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of In the Arena. We'll see you next time.